Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight in our news.
The opposition leader slams the Prime Minister's national address.
The Education Minister says he's very concerned about that incident that happened at CB Bethel.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis delivering his first national address for 2019, focusing on what government is doing to boost economic growth and job creation. The address didn't reveal any major announcements, instead attempting to create a positive tone for the year.
We are making considerable progress, but there is still much more work to do.
Minnis says despite an increase in unemployment from 10% to 10.7%, the latest labor statistics show that Bahamians are becoming more confident in the country's economic growth.
This is seen in the fact that the number of discouraged workers decreased by 6.7%. This indicates that more Bahamians have confidence in the country's economic recovery. More people are actively looking for work.
Minnis also touted a reduction in the unemployment rate on Grand Bahama, which he says stands below 12% for the first time since 2008. He says developments on Grand Bahama, such as the Bahama Bay Resort, will improve economic prospects for that island, while again asserting the importance and urgency of a successful sale of the Grand Lucayan Resort, which government purchased for $65 million in September 2018.
We are on track to sell the Grand Lucayan, the temporary purchase of which was absolutely necessary for the economy of Grand Bahama.
Turning to the tourism industry, Minnis lauded an improvement in overall tourism numbers, including the stopover market.
Air arrivals increased by 16.5% for the year through September 2018. As the upward trend in international arrivals since October 2017 continued through 2018. Preliminary stopover numbers for the year through October 2018 stood at 1.33 million, a 10.4% increase over the same period in the previous year.
According to Minnis, $3.7 billion worth of approved development projects will bolster tourism growth. Among those projects on New Providence are a 100-room condominium hotel and marina at The Point by Margaritaville, a 118-unit condo hotel project by the Wynn Group at Gold Blossom on West Bay Street, and a $250 million mixed-use development on Paradise Island.
The Sterling Hurricane Hole Community Resort and Marina is a $250 million mixed-use development, which will include residential, retail, and professional office space, and a renovated marina. Over the next 5 years, the development is projected to provide 3,000 construction jobs.
Minnis also highlighted tourism developments on Long Island, Eleuthera and Abaco, as well as agricultural investments in Andros, Eleuthera, and Grand Bahama. He says these investments often have an immediate impact as firms seek specialized Bahamian labor. Additionally, he predicted that $25 million for small businesses over the next 5 years and the redevelopment of the Port of Nassau through a private-public partnership will help in growing the economy. Then there's the much-needed transformation of downtown Nassau.
The old main post office building will be demolished to make way for the new Supreme Court complex and supporting offices, which will help in the revitalization of downtown.
Opposition leader Philip Brave Davis is slamming that national address as a disappointing nothing burger. Jasmine Brown has his comments in this report.
Davis insisted that national address lacked just about everything, as he says it failed to offer hope to the hopeless.
The address inspired no hope. It was laced with untruths. It demonstrated that they're still grasping to have an understanding of how to govern and what governing is all about. And that there's more to governing than campaigning. And it was yet just another stump speech on a campaign trail.
Davis fired off a lengthy statement just moments after the television broadcast ended on Monday night. He called the national report a travesty and asserted Bahamians were treated to a litany of non-performance that he says the PM tried to pass off as sensible public policy and accomplishment. The opposition leader also hit out at Minnis' comments on unemployment, particularly joblessness in Grand Bahama. Davis says the numbers do not match reality.
It is obvious that the Prime Minister and his colleagues are disconnected from reality. On the ground, from Grand Bahama in the north, right, to the inner city in New Providence, if you hear the cries of our people, I hear the braggadocio about employment rising in Grand Bahama. But what he misses is that the number of Grand Bahamians that have left Grand Bahama in search of employment. The workforce in Grand Bahama has shrinked tremendously. And therefore, if the workforce shrinks, the consequence of that is that the unemployment figure will likely shrink.
Davis says the PLP would have said something to give the people hope, including the airport had been started in Exuma, the school in Black Point, and its clinic fixed and functional. He also said the PLP administration would have announced a buyer and operator for the hotel in Grand Bahama, complete with the requisite supporting airlift. Davis says the Prime Minister has lowered his expectations for future national reports.
Not high. My expectations are not high. And I don't want to raise them too high because it'll only be dashed. It's just been a disappointing Prime Minister for all of us.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
The U.S. government shutdown may be over for now, but it has resulted in a delay in next month's negotiation meetings between the Bahamas' negotiation team and the WTO. While there is still uncertainty over another potential shutdown in the coming weeks, no new date has been set for the meeting, according to the Bahamas' lead negotiator, Javargo Lang.
We have to work with the team in the working party, and so to the extent that they are able to accommodate meetings, and we're not the only country acceding. There are 22 other countries acceding. So it's not just our meetings that are taking place. So you have other countries whose meetings are taking place. And so if you have something that happens that causes you to miss a queue, now you have to have adjustments that take into account the other countries that are acceding.
The Bahamas' negotiating team is in the consultation phase as it prepares to present another revised offer to the World Trade Organization. Members of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce have previously expressed concerns about the effect joining the WTO could have on local businesses. The Chamber has now enlisted the help of Oxford Economics to conduct a study on the implications joining the WTO can have on the country's economy. Lang said as consultation continues, the negotiating team has found that the number one concern about the Bahamas acceding to the WTO has been the threat of foreign competition.
Will we, a Bahamian producer of mattresses, water, tissue, find ourselves competing more fiercely on pricing because you lower the duties on the imported water or mattress or tissue? So it really boils down to competition. Will the acceding to the WTO remove the protections, remove the safeguards we have enjoyed?
Teachers must return to the classroom. That coming from Education Minister Jeffrey Lloyd, who told our news team that teachers at CV Bethel Senior High School are still not teaching after one of their colleagues was attacked on the campus by two students. Jillian Gray reports.
Education Minister Jeffrey Lloyd says he's patiently awaiting the police report on the incident that unfolded at CV Bethel Senior High School. He says that report will determine what course of action the ministry takes.
Police at this moment is presently conducting an investigation into the incident at CV Bethel. We are awaiting that and have been urgently, patiently waiting that police's report. When we have it, we are then going to be able to make decisions. Because I do not now, as minister, have the full report of what happened at that school last week. As many of you know, I was in London, and the Honorable Desmond Bannister was acting for me. So when I have that report in my hand, then we will take whatever steps may be necessary.
Last week, a male teacher was allegedly attacked by 2 male students. Both boys were taken into custody following the incident. One day after that, teachers met with the leaders of the Bahamas Union of Teachers to discuss safety concerns. Lloyd says he has not seen recommendations made by the union, but he agrees that everyone should feel safe on campus.
Nobody deserves to be put in any way in a compromised position with regard to their safety and welfare, and that, of course, is something that I am most passionate about in terms of making sure that they are protected. Teachers and students, and anybody else who happens to be on a campus, administrators and so on. Okay? So nobody's life is being compromised, in any fashion or form, because we're very serious about making sure that our teachers are protected and safe, our students are protected and are safe. And that's why I cannot wait for this report so that we can take whatever measures we need to take.
Though the incident happened last week, Lloyd said he has been informed that teachers have not returned to the classroom. He urged them to resume their duties and stressed that educating students should be their top priority.
At this moment, and it's about 10 o'clock this time, I'm advised that the teachers have not been going to school, not been going to class, rather, I should say. Okay? Of course, I'm following up very closely on that. And if that is so, and I certainly have no reason to doubt the sources of my information, then the teachers need to be in school, in classes. This action by them is illegal. It is contrary to the industrial agreement. They need to be in the classes teaching our students who have a right to education and have a right to the professional guidance that teachers provide.
Now again, the education minister said he is extremely concerned about safety on school campuses and promised that his ministry will ensure that staff, students, and teachers can work and learn in a safe environment. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Thanks, Jillian. A major blow for South Luther's tourism product last night after fire destroyed several structures on Princess Key. Cell phone video captured the reaction of frantic residents in total shock as they watched flames engulf a portion of the tourist attraction.
It's on fire. Oh my God. Lord Jesus, what is this?
The officers, they arrived there. They were assisted by volunteers from the South Eleuthera Emergency Partners. And they were able to extinguish the fire.
Chief Superintendent Walter Evans, who heads the fire department, said officers as well as members of that community worked well into the wee hours of the morning to extinguish that blaze. Princess Key is the main stop for Princess Cruise Lines that brings in hundreds of guests to the island at a time. According to Evans, police aren't able to determine how the fire got started at the moment.
What we do know is the amount of structures were about four structures, and we, from all indication, we're not sure in terms of the dollar value, in terms of the amount of assets which were destroyed. But we do know that there's been some of the machinery and some of the other assets that the company owns that were destroyed.
A family is seeking the public's help this evening locating a young girl that's been missing for nearly 2 months. Her family members telling Our News that they believe that peer pressure may be playing a role in her disappearance. Giorgio Bain reports.
She just wants you to know that you can come home, Yolanda. You see your mother, very frail, sick. Look at your mother, Yolanda. She just wants you to come home. Whoever is harboring this 12-year-old child, her daughter, please, just send her home.
This is a desperate plea from the relatives of 12-year-old Yolanda Mercedine, who has been missing since December 14, 2018. As Yolanda's 13th birthday approaches, her mother says all she wants is for her daughter to come home. Her mother, Natasha Jean, says she understands that the teen has been spotted in the community on several occasions since her disappearance, at the local Super Value using Wi-Fi, at a nearby service station, and walking with friends.
Yesterday night, 7 o'clock, I see somebody tell me she see him on back Super Value on the floor. She watch Wi-Fi. I look in, I see him. I look in 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, I see him.
Jean told us she believes that her daughter's poor choice in friends led to her decision to leave home.
She get bad friend. She mess up a bad friend. Bad friend.
You know the friend? Have you seen the friend before?
No. Sometimes I see Yolanda walk on the road on two girls. I didn't see him, your parents. I don't know. No. I don't know.
St. Lafleur says at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to them where she is and what she's been up to. They just want her home.
Regardless to where the child might have gone or why she was missing, it's still somebody's child and it's still somebody's daughter. And at those young age, you can't really hold them accountable or responsible, especially if you have adults are the ones who are actually coaching them, or friends, delinquent friends who might be, peer pressure and they go their way. The fact of the matter is, it's still somebody's child who is missing. That's the point right there, and she just wants her daughter home.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Georgia O'Bain.
Still to come on Our News, health officials concerned about a measles outbreak in the U.S. The details after this.